Niko Nsimere Gabriela na Biazire, niko mtoto wa Ntambweka na Biazire na Bashushani na Katege, niko Mushi, niko mtoto wa Kivu, natoka Bukavu, and the reality is that my people are going extinct.
S'il vous plaît, Congolais, tika des distractions. Pourquoi on est maudit jusqu'à ce point? Oh, il y a une réalité à place.
So hey everyone, I don't know exactly where to start because there's a whole lot to debunk. If you don't understand why we are here, what conversation we are here, we are speaking about what is currently happening in the DRC. And as of recently, the East has received attacks. This has left people displaced and killed because of the crossfire that is happening. Now, what is happening in the East is not new to the people who live in the East. We have experienced this for a long time, for more than 30 years now. We've had this silent war that has happened for a long time, but you only now see that the world is now taking it serious or is taking initiative. This is because the M23 have decided to rebel against Congo's government. Now, if you are someone that is not open-minded, if you already have a fixed perspective to this war or what is happening in the East, then this video is not for you, because this video is going to bring a different perspective and a different conversation to what is actually happening. The media is telling us that the M23 are Rwandan rebels that are coming from Rwanda to take over the territories in Congo, but the media is not going to depth as to what is actually happening, what is the reason for the displacement, and who the real enemy is, right? So this video is going to discuss that. I'm not here to perpetuate my opinion to you guys. I'm just here to bring information or to present information to you, the information that I've found on the internet, but the information that I've also found from what the Goma people are actually saying themselves. I do appreciate the conversations that are being had right now. And I also would obviously continue to send my condolences to my brothers and sisters that have lost family members, right? Not just today, but since 1996. Also the peacekeepers that have been sent, the South African peacekeepers that were sent to Congo. I send my condolences to their families as well. Now, this video is just here to present you with information. Your responsibility as a viewer is to continue to do research, because this is the research I've done. This is what I've found. Now, it is now your responsibility to do thorough research. If you disagree with me, it's totally fine. But you can only reasonably disagree with me if you've actually done the research and you have stats to back it up. So the big dollar question is, who is the M23? We've been hearing about the M23 in the media for long. The M23 are Rwandan soldiers that are coming into Congo to terrorize the people of Congo. This is what the media has been telling us, right? But according to the article that I found, the M23 is a rebel group that was started by the Congolese Tutsis to defend itself and its territories from the Congolese government. So the question is, who are these Congolese Tutsis? Like, what do you mean Tutsis are Congolese people? Because if you don't know, Rwanda consists of two tribes, which is the Hutus and the Tutsis. So how is it that we have Congolese Tutsis in Congo, right? According to this article, the Congolese Tutsis are a group of people in the Democratic Republic of Congo who are descendants from the Tutsi ethnic group. The Tutsi are the Bantu-speaking people who originate in the African Great Lake region. So in order for us to understand who the Congolese Tutsis are, we need to go back into history. The Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 was a meeting of European colonial powers that divided Africa amongst them. The conference established rules of colonizing Africa and trade, and formalized the process of European colonization. This is basically when the whites came into one conference and they sat down and they decided to divide Africa like a piece of cake. You understand? They were like, yeah, South Africa is going to be run by the British, Congo is going to be run by the Belgian. This is a conference basically where the white people at that time came together to divide Africa, right? So when they were dividing Africa, they did not divide Africa according to tribes. They didn't really care about tribes. They just divided Africa according to how they felt like it, right? But then they didn't realize that as they were dividing countries, right, they were also dividing tribes. We understand that before the Berlin Conference, Africa was borderless, right? So we only had specific tribes that were allocated to specific territories in Africa. But once the decision of the Berlin Conference was put into place, Africa was divided. This is why you see that Igbo tribe is found in Nigeria, but it's also found in Cameroon, Gabon, and Equatorial Guinea. It's the exact same thing with the Ndebele tribe here in South Africa. You find the Ndebele tribe here in SA, but you also find the Ndebele tribe in Zimbabwe, right? It's the exact same thing with the Tutsi tribe. One tribe was divided into the territory of Congo and the other tribe was divided into the territory of Rwanda. So when Congo was formed, there were already territories within the border of Congo that belonged to the Tutsi people. These Tutsi people were a part of this territory in the 16th century. So they've been in that territory for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. When Congo was basically formed, right, these Tutsi people were a part of Congo. During the course of time, the Congolese government has tried time and time again to kick certain tribes out of Congo because they didn't consider these people or these tribes to be Congolese. Now, because of this, in 2012, the ethnic people of the Congolese Tutsis decided to form a rebellion group, which is called the M23, to protect its own people because its people weren't protected, right, by the government. The government didn't really care about them. They didn't really consider them as Congolese people. So they decided to form a group that was going to protect its people and the interests of its people. The Congolese Tutsis, which is a minority group in Congo, they have been mistreated for years, especially in 1960 to 1962. So what had happened, right, was Congolese received its independence, right, in 1960. And Patrice Lumumba became our first prime minister. There was a specific agenda he had for Congo, a positive agenda. He wanted Congo to be united. He wanted Congo to be great. He wanted Congo to step against what they have faced through and what they've been through. So there were so many positive things that he had for Congo, right? But because the white elites were not so happy with what Patrice Lumumba was going to do for Congo, they decided to assassinate him. And unfortunately, the people that had handed him to the CIA were his own people. So what did these white elites then do? They put a puppet president to run the country, right, which they were going to basically control the decisions and control everything, but have a front that there is a Congolese president that is running the country, right? And this puppet, or let's just say CIA agent, right, was Mobutu Sese Seko. In 1960 to 1962, when Mobutu Sese Seko came into power, he wanted his tribe to maintain power, or tribes that were similar to him. So he created the nationalist laws that excluded certain tribes from Congo. Guess who was the most affected? It was the Congolese Tutsis that were the most affected. When he decided to put these laws into power, he was basically saying, out of the 450 tribes that Congo has, Mobutu Sese Seko said, listen, these are the tribes that are going to be considered as Congolese, and these are not the tribes that are going to be considered as Congolese. These people are foreign nationals in our country and they need to go back home. Now, when I was looking at this information, I was asking myself, How do you tell people to go back to their home if their territory has always been found within the borders of the country? Where exactly do you want them to go? Because their ancestors and their generations date back to being in that territory. So you are telling these people to move, but where exactly do you want them to move? It's like telling Ndebele people in South Africa that, yeah, you guys are not Ndebele enough, we don't consider your tribe, and because we don't consider your tribe, you guys must move to Zim. But it's like the Ndebele people of South Africa have been in the country, their lineage is in the country for such a long time. Like, how do you tell them to move because you don't consider their tribe, right? And I look at these nationalist laws and I realize that there's a reason as to why these national laws were put in place. These nationalist laws were put in place to divide Congo from its own people, to divide itself. Because it makes no sense as to, we have a new independence, right? We have now been freed from the white people, but now what is happening is that the president is trying to divide Congolese people amongst themselves. Like, it actually does not add up whatsoever.
Quand on est entre nous, on est divisé. Tokoma divisé kaka. Ikomaka moluba wana kutu. Muswahili wana kutu aza vrai congolais. Mukongo wana bakongo baza bizarre.
A number of Congolese Tutsis and other tribes were affected by this national laws, and because of that, they've always been mistreated. They've always been bashed. They've also been killed multiple times. At some point, they couldn't vote. They couldn't participate in what was happening in Congo. They were never excluded into the things that were happening of Congo, right? They weren't a part of it. For such a long time. It is only then recently that they've been able to vote and they've been able to be considered as a part of Congo. So we see that in 2012, these minorities, these small tribes that are found in the East, decided to form a rebel group against the government to protect its own people, because for a long time, the government has been trying to kick them out of their own territory.
As you know, part of the population in the Eastern Congo is Rwanda speaking, the Banyamulenge. Part of the problem in the Congo is that from the days of Mobutu, they refused to recognize that the Banyamulenge are Congolese. They might be Rwanda speaking, but these are Congolese. And it's the responsibility of any government in Kinshasa to look after this section of the Congolese population like any other. But you remember what happened during the Mobutu years. Mobutu took the position that these are foreigners. It's like the South Africans here saying, they're Tswana-speaking people here in the Northwest. And suddenly the rest of the country says, those are not South Africans, they must go to Botswana. So what happened in the Congo case, that's how you had the Mai Mai emerge in Eastern Congo. The Mai Mai were specifically targeting the Banyamulenge to drive them out of the Congo into Rwanda. But I'm saying it's a responsibility of the central government in the Congo to look after this population, which is Congolese, it's not Rwandan.
Now the question is, if the M23 are Congolese people that are just trying to defend themselves in their own territories, where does Rwanda come in? Who are the people that are being accused of terrorizing the people of Congo in the East? Who are these people, right? This is quite simple. The Rwandan Civil War was a large-scale civil war in Rwanda, which fought between the Rwandan armed forces representing the country's government and the rebel Rwandan Patriotic Front from the 1st of October 1990 to 18 July 1994. In the 1994 civil war in Rwanda, right, these two tribes were fighting against each other. It was Chai. There were bullets everywhere. There was a huge genocide, right? And at the end of it, right, the Hutus were overthrown by the Tutsis in Rwanda. So what had then happened was that the Hutus were then running for refuge. Now, no other African country wanted to take them because no one wanted to be on the bad side of Rwanda. But guess what country opened their borders to these Hutu rebels? It is Congo. It is the East of Congo that opened these borders so that these Hutu rebels can be refugees in our country. But then what ended up happening was that there was now a clash between the Congolese Tutsis in the east and the Hutu rebels in the country.
We are fighting for our survival. Since 1994, with the genocide in Rwanda, all those armed Hutu rebels who committed the genocide in Rwanda came in Congo. So since 1994, they are in Eastern Congo, killing, raping, robbing, and you see, then our people is living in displaced camp and in refugee camp. A foreigner coming in your country, you receive him like a refugee, then he take arms against you and against your people. It's not acceptable.
Now remember, the Hutu rebels are the rebels from Rwanda. They were coming from Rwanda, they were coming into Congo as refugees. Because there was such conflict, right, between the Tutsi Congolese people, right, and the Hutu rebels that were coming from Rwanda, this is the reason as to why so many people then became displaced in the east. No one tells you in history, but these Hutu rebels did the most heinous things and the most disgusting things to the Congolese people that were living on the east of Congo for a long time.
Ndio akakutana bai bajambazi na bakamuua kule. Maisha yangu ya mbele ya vita kwa tofauti, juu tukua fa tunalima ile mashamba, tunaleta ile miogo na ile sombe tunakula. Lakini tangu vile Bahutu balingia mupori, hatupate tena gisi ya kwenda kushamba, ya kuleta ile sombe, na njoo vitu tunakamatisha tu kazi ya kutwanga maiwe. Juu tuone tutapata ile msaada ya kulisha watoto.
J'étais violée tous les jours, parfois jusqu'à 10 fois par jour.
Par une personne ou par plusieurs?
Non, une seule personne, le commandant, mais c'était tous les jours. Le jour de mon enlèvement, 5 hommes m'ont violée. Puis, ils m'ont amenée à leur campement. Et là, le chef m'a dit que je serais sa femme.
So these Hutu rebels were also known as the FDRL, right? So first of all, they attacked civilians, right? The group had carried out attacks upon villages, killing and displacing thousands of people. They forced recruitment. So the FDRL forcibly recruited children and adults to fight on their behalf. Sexual violence was also involved. The group had been accused of committing rape and all forms of sexual violence throughout the east of Congo. There was also looting, right, that happened. So they would loot villages, steal food, livestock, and other valuable resources. So for a long time, these rebels that were refugees in Congo, they have honestly done the most heinous things to the people of Congo for a long time. My aunt used to sit me down and tell me the stories of how they would go into houses, they would kill people, they would rape people, they would take away breadwinners, they would kill wives. If you didn't allow them to rape you, then they would kill you. They would take away your kids. And our people saw it firsthand, and they were victim to all of these things that were happening. My uncle personally was taken as a child soldier at a very young age. So normally when the war happens, normally there's information, right, for us to start moving into safer parts, right, just so that we are all in safety. There's certain people that choose to stay in the town, but there's also people that decide to migrate right now. The people that are the most affected, right, these are the people that you see in the refugee camps. The people that are the most affected, right, when it comes to these attacks from the rebels are the people who live in the neighboring villages. So there's the neighboring villages and there is the city. So what happens when this war starts in the villages, the people in the villages lose everything and they migrate into the city to seek for safety, and this has been happening since 1996. That is what happened. The most vulnerable people in in this whole situation are the people that are in the surrounding villages. These rebels have continued to loot Congo, right? And we all know the reason as to why there's been so much displacement, right? This is because of the minerals that are found in the east of Congo. So now we see that the Hutu rebel group became very active in 1996, right? This is when the rebels, right, these Rwandan rebels became very active, right? So according to this article, in 1996, there was a coalition of rebel groups that were led by Laurent Kabila. He launched a rebellion against the government of President Mobutu Sese Seko. The rebels, backed by the Rwandan and the Ugandan, quickly gained control of the country, and Kabila became the new king. Do you know how bizarre it is that in order for a person to overrule the country, the government of the country, they need to work with rebels that are backed by other countries in order for them to get power into Congo? Do you know how crazy that is? And the reality is that our leaders have not been honest with us. They've not been honest with us. A lot of these leaders have used rebel groups to come into power. They have used these rebel groups to come into power, displace the people. They're not being honest. That's my problem in this life. They're not being honest. Now we see that this happened in 1996, and this caused so much displacement for people in the East, right? So my question to you is, with all that I've said, right, as of now, if the M23 rebel group was formed in April 2012 by the Congolese Tutsis of Congo, right, then which rebels were terrorizing Congo from 1996 till 2011? Because we continued to have attacks. The East continued to have attacks, right? In 2001, I think, in 2003, the East continued to have attacks. So how are we blaming the M23 for what has been happening since 1996 if they were only formed in 2012? Like, that's actually a genuine question. If the M23 was formed in 2012 to defend its own people, who are the rebels? Who are the rebels that terrorized Congo from 1996 up until now? So the reality is that in order for Congolese people to overrule their government, they've needed to work with rebels to overthrow the country. So Laurent Kabila worked with the rebels, right? And the plan was to overthrow Mobutu Sese Seko, which they obviously did. Because what had ended up happening was that because he was used by the Western powers, right? To a certain point, they used him till they couldn't use him anymore. So what had then happened was that he was then vulnerable to attacks. And when the rebel group came in, he had to go into hiding. He then had to die in exile because it was shy for him. Everyone was looking for him, right? So the plan was for Laurent Kabila to come into power, but he was also now going to be a puppet for Rwanda and other groups. I don't know which groups, but he was then going to be the puppet of the system, and he was then going to bring people in to work the country the way it needs to be worked, right? However, when Laurent Kabila then became president, he's like, hold on. I'm not about to do this to my people. Like, I'm not about to terrorize my people. No, man, like, this is not going to happen, you know? And when he took that decision, what had happened? Guy didn't even last a long time. They took him out. They were like, you are not serious. We had a deal. You didn't want to do what you were told. So we need to take you out. And that's what they did. The rebel group that he worked with, that he turned against, ended up assassinating him. Now let's fast forward to 2018. Congo was having its presidential election. Felix was a candidate for the presidential cabinet, right? Yeah, guys, I came across shocking information. Let's just watch these clips, right?
Tshisekedi ulikuwa tumika naye na M23. Bujue leo kitu. Alituita Kinshasa tulifanya 14 mois anatukulisha mzuri sana kuwashinda bote niki sipokuwa hapo. Sasa wewe na kiwanja huko nasema il nous a appelé Kinshasa 14 mois ba video iko gari ya mzuri communication chaque jour. Wakati tulikuwa na pori sisi tulikuwa naye tulikuwa tumika naye tulisikilizanaka kama Kabila atafanya 3e mandat sie bote tutampiga sie tutampiga. Sisi kana sema niye njoo utakomboa Kongo niye njoo M23 anaenda anakamata pouvoir anatugeuka tena sisi njoo tunakuwa tena ba étranger ba Rwanda. President kama nasema kitu sai na 8h na 12h anaenda kula imbwa ale anasabu mani.
When Tshisekedi was running for president the first time in 2018, they worked with him. When he was elected, they went to Kinshasa. They were there for 14 months. They negotiated a peace agreement where they would get all these M23 rebels, integrate them into the Congolese army because they were actually in the Congolese army. Integrate them into the Congolese army and then resettle others into Eastern DRC in their own ancestral lands. Now, when the agreement came to be implemented, the M23 soldiers were supposed to be transported to Bar Congo. Do you know where Bar Congo is? It's on the border with Angola, 1,800 kilometers from Goma. This was a great opportunity for Tshisekedi. So he would have taken these soldiers away from their ethnic habitat, far away. Then they would be integrated into the army. They surrendered their weapons. They were taken to a center where they were supposed to be transported. When they were there, the Congolese army, without notice, without provocation, came, attacked them, killed many of them, and that is what sparked, this is I think November 2022, that is what sparked the second or the third or fourth M23 crisis that we have right now.
So according to these clips, Felix Tshisekedi, allegedly, Felix Tshisekedi worked with the M23 to win the elections in 2018. This man worked with the M23 rebels because the M23 rebels were not happy with how Joseph Kabila had run the country, because Joseph Kabila was working with the Hutu rebels that were terrorizing the people in the east of Congo, right? So the M23 were not happy. So they decided to work with Felix Tshisekedi to bring a change into the country. And Felix Tshisekedi was willing to work with them. This is the reason as to why M23 spent 14 months in Kinshasa working and having an agreement with Felix Tshisekedi to integrate into one, right? The plan was for the M23 to reintegrate themselves into the Congolese army. Now, I don't think I've mentioned this in this video, but I am going to mention it now, right? The M23 were former army members of the Congo army. They had retreated from the army because they realized that their people were not being defended and their people were not being protected. So what had happened was they then decided to form the M23, which was a rebellion against the government to protect its own people. But before Tshisekedi got into power, the agreement was that, hey, listen, we are all Congolese people. We are coming together.
Mengana lingina loba boye. Banyamulenge bazali bakongole. Totika koinana katina biso.
As you can see by this article, the Banyamulenge that the president has been speaking about are a Tutsi minority group in the DRC. These are the Congolese Tutsis I've been speaking about since the beginning of the video. These people have been living in these territories since the 16th century.
As soon as President Felix Tshisekedi got into power, he's like, I don't need to work with you guys. I don't need y'all. Like, I now have what I want. I actually don't need you guys. And they were confused because they were like, listen, we were telling our people to vote for you. We know that there was a change that was going to happen. If you look at the votes that came from Congo, you see that the East had more than 90% of votes go to Felix Tshisekedi, right? Why would the people of the East just vote for Felix Tshisekedi just because? There was a promise that was attached to the reason as to why the people of the East decided to vote for Felix Tshisekedi. So as soon as he gets into power, right, now mind you, when he was with these people, right, he was just like, yes guys, you guys are Congolese, I've accepted you guys, everything is nah. As soon as he gets into power, this guy switches up. They were supposed to travel to a certain part of Congo to then join the army, but when they got there, they were then attacked by the Congolese army. So now the M23 is like, what's Allah? Where Allah? Like, what's happening? What's happening? What is actually happening? So that is when the rebellion happened. This is when the M23, they were like, Hawa, we've been able to protect our territories. Now we are going to take more territories, right? Now we're going to take more territories, and like, it's time. What is happening? It is deeper than Rwanda versus Congo. This is the Congo government officials versus the native Congolese Tutsi people in the east. What is happening right now is the Congolese government against the Congolese rebels from the Congolese Tutsis. That is exactly what is happening. Guys, when I found this information, I was like, nah. Recently, right, I've been online. Recently, the M23 have taken territories. Guys, please tell me why I'm seeing videos of the M23 being praised in Goma.
Hana mtu kuna tembea bila kujikanyanga, hana boga, hana kitu chochote cha kumzuru.
Salama wa leo hii juo baskali wa M23 wanafika hapa Mweso, tunapata amani na tunasinzia mzuri sana.
Tofauti gani kati ya jeshi la M23 na FARDC na FDLR vilikuwa hapa na Maimai na FSLS?
Mtu niko natembea na telefoni.
Ndio.
Haungeweza kutembea na telefoni. Hata kugusa kumifuko na niko na pesa.
Ndio.
Na niko na linete ya macho.
Ndio.
Yote vilikuwa naiwekwa nyumbani.
Ndio.
Ndio tofauti kabambi.
FARDC ilikuwa natutesa sana, inatukula mali yetu, mambuzi na tunyanganya matelefone, vyote tunakosa amani sana. Tunalala na tunasinzia kutokana na ginze M23 nafika hapa Mweso.
Asante sana. Nikisema kwamba leo tangu M23 ilifika hapa hamjakuwa na shida yoyote, M23 na wakamata mzuri.
Antuka mimi niko naona ni sawa, tena sawa, 10 juu ya 10.
Mzuri sana. Asante papa.
Asante na wewe.
Kashuga ba Maimai na ba FARDC walipie wakipiga masasi ya mingi.
Ndio.
Njoo tukekimbia tukekuya huku. Kwa sasa wote waishatoka, mingine ziko wazi, waishapie mabotiki.
Hapa Mweso una usalama?
Hapa tunafurahi sana, tuko bia, hakuna problem. Juu M23 imefika, tunafurahia sana ile juu tuko bia, hawatunyang'anye tena telefoni.
Asante sana.
They are being praised in Goma. Guys, one thing about people from the East, we don't pretend. These people are busy singing Yazini, praises to the heavens, praises to the Lord, that the M23 has taken over its territory. Guys, when I watch those videos, I'm like, how what? Something is not clicking. The world is telling us that the reason as to why these people are being terrorized is because of the M23, right? So if the M23 took territories of Congo, the only logical thing for the people of Goma to do was to run away, because it's just like it's overtaken by the military. But instead, the military is being praised. People are singing, ole, 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 ole. Like, guys, it makes no sense. It makes no sense. Why are the people of Goma praising the M23 as they come into the territory and have taken a part of the territory? Because this is what the Western media is telling us to believe. This is the information that the Western media is feeding us, right? So if the M23 is really bad, why are the M23 being praised by the people of Goma that are oppressed? Now, everything that I've explained are political, right? This problem that is happening in Congo is not just a political problem, right? But it is also a tribalist problem. There are certain groups in Congo that are not considered as Congolese because they are different, because they are closer to the border. We have faced so many things against the Hutu rebels, right, in the East. That is fact. That is fact. That is factual. The reason as to why I am displaced, right, I am from the East and my parents had me here is because the condition of the East is not the best. Do you understand? Leo vita, kesho vita, leo vita, kesho. Do you understand? So really, like, we need to start then asking. Remember, the Western media is now feeding us this information, right? We need to start asking them questions, because the reality is that so many innocent civilians have been terrorized in the crossfire. You understand? A lot has happened in the crossfire. So now all of these things is happening. South African peacekeepers are sent into the DRC to maintain peace. Now, I will say this, especially for SA. In order for you to fight on the right side of history or the right side of the war, you need to know exactly who you're fighting and what you're fighting against, right? Exactly, you need to know. You can't just go and decide to fight. Now, Cupcake went to go and put out a statement against Rwanda, right? And then now Rwanda is now threatening South Africa. Guys, Cupcake, please go and fix things. Do you understand? I don't know how you're gonna, you understand? But please try. Because Yasini, I don't want us to be then attacked by the Rwandan army. Guys, we are not going to survive. The things that they've been doing in the East, they must now come and follow us here. Cupcake, go and do something. Go and fix whatever's happening on that side. You understand? As I believe, like, go and fix what's happening. I don't know, because this feels like inherited beef. Basically, South Africa had inherited beef. You understand? And now because of that, their people are about to suffer because of inherited beef. So yeah, you guys have now been given a choice, right? Choose between the blue pill and the red pill. Are you going to take what the Western media is feeding you, right? Or are you going to take what the people of Goma are actually saying about what's happening in their own country? Yeah, you need to pick and choose. Now, the most important question, right, is what can a person do for Congo currently? Yes, this is a whole political problem. Politics is involved and all of that. But the question is, as a person, what can you do for Congo right now? The first thing is, if you are a spiritual person, right, the best thing you can do is pray for Congo. Pray that we are able to find peace. Pray that we'll be able to find peace in the country. That's all. Peace for the civilians, peace for what's happening. Yazini. That is the best thing you can do, is pray, right? Not everyone believes in the power of prayer, but I believe in the power of prayer. A lot of people in the city of Goma believe in the power of prayer and believe that God is going to one day grant them peace, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is being informed. Don't just take what the Western media is feeding you. Do your own research. And with research and proof, establish what then is happening, right? If it means that you should learn Kiswahili in order for you to be able to digest all information that is out there, then do so. Then do so. You can't tell me as an individual that, yeah, this is happening, that is happening, if you fail to understand what the people of Goma themselves are saying. Do you understand? You need to make a decision. If you are going to decide to full out inform yourself about what's happening, right, about why the war is actually happening, I suggest that you go yourself, learn Kiswahili, learn what's happening, and maybe you are going to see a different side to what is happening. Thirdly, there are so many NGOs that are out there, right, that are there to feed the people that are in the refugee camps, or let's just say the camps, right? There's so many NGOs. If you can donate to the people of Congo, donate to the villages, right, that have been destroyed. Donate to the people that have been displaced from their homes into camps. Donate to them, right? Because the reality is that they can't work. A lot of things have been taken away from them, right? And the only thing that you can do is support them financially. So if you can do that, then do so. It's so crazy because the stories that I heard from my mom, right, the stories that I was hearing from my aunt as well, are now coming into perspective. These stories are now coming into perspective. One thing that Congolese people from other parts of Congo don't get to realize is that they have the privilege to make money outside of Congo, go back to Congo and build a house, you understand, build this. But the reality is that I can't go back to the East and decide to build, because the reality is that there isn't security, right? My home, the province of Kivu, which is north and south, is a war zone, and has been a war zone for the longest. It has been a war zone for the longest, right? I remember there was a time where my grandfather had bought property. This is from my mom's side. My grandfather had bought property under my grandmother's name. And he bought property. This was property that was going to basically assist my grandmother. Now, this was then very close to the border. What had then happened was these Hutu rebels decided to overtake the property that my grandfather had built. My grandfather had gone there multiple times to try to scare off these rebels, but what ended up happening was this man was running back home for his life. There was a time where they told him, the last time that he went there, they told him that if he had returned back to that building, that they were going to kill him. So that was the last time he then went to that property, right? Now, what had happened was they were living in the property, but they were also terrorizing the neighboring villages, right? They were terrorizing the neighboring villages that were around the property that my grandfather had. So what did the natives decide to do? They decided to burn the building. They're like, listen, you guys have been doing the most. Like, every time you guys are hungry or drunk, you guys come and steal from us, you come and terrorize from us, you take advantage of us. So they were just like, if this building is what is keeping you guys here, then we're going to burn off the building. And that's what happened, right? So the reality is that a lot of people can't invest or build there, because the reality is that the East of Congo is a war zone. I will say this: the Congolese government has to first start by being honest with its people. That is the first thing. Stop pushing propaganda and be honest with your people. Yes, the Congolese people have been oppressed by the Hutu rebels for a long time, but what is happening currently is against the Congolese rebels that have decided to rebel against the Congolese government, right? I hope this video brings a lot of clarity as to what is being said in the media, right? As I said, if you're not open-minded to new information, then this video is not for you whatsoever. And the last thing that we can do as people is just continue to have conversations online, right? If a Me Too movement can shake the world and can lead governments to taking accountability and actually getting things done, then the same social media can be used as a tool to change what is happening in the East. But the reality is, we need to get rid of the miscommunication that is happening. Guys, I kid you not, someone is lying. Someone is lying. It is all up to you to just do your research. The reality of everything is that our real enemy is not the person sitting next to us, right? Because I've seen that what these white elites have managed to do is divide its own people so that they can take the minerals unlawfully, you understand, unjustly, right? So we need to start there. the real enemy is not the people that we are fighting that are next door. The real enemy are the white elites that continuously, illegally exploit the natural resources of the DRC Congo. That is who our enemies are. So guys, stay awake, stay informed, and make your choice. Choose. Are you choosing the red pill or the blue pill? So yeah guys, thank you for watching this video. I hope that this video has informed you. From me to you guys, see you on my next video.
Nayebisaka bino ba Congolais bobima na distraction ya masanga. Nayebisaki bino ba Congolais makamonga na mona eske bino bomonaka bomelaka masanga na bana kisasa bo continue masanga bo continue kokela ba église wana ya ba Marcelo Badalo bo continue masasa ezo ya tina kisasa. Goma est tombé, Goma est tombé.